In the late 1960s, a massive counterculture movement embraced the writings of Carlos Castaneda, framing his texts as a mystical guide to psychedelic exploration. Castaneda wrote these accounts while serving as an anthropology graduate student at UCLA, eventually submitting the third book in the series as his doctoral thesis. The second book, A Separate Reality, outlines a theoretical system for perception engineering. Analyzing this system requires removing the New Age aesthetics that came to define the public's understanding of his work. The text prioritizes the internal architecture of belief and cognitive restructuring over the spiritual persona of the narrator. Following a psychological break, Castaneda returned to the Sonoran Desert to resume his apprenticeship with his subject, the Yaqui shaman Don Juan Matus. The initial phase of training relied on peyote, a spineless cactus containing the psychoactive alkaloid mescaline. Mescaline is a hallucinogenic compound that alters perception by affecting serotonin receptors in the brain. Datura served as a secondary tool. It is a toxic flowering plant in the nightshade family, known for inducing severe delirium. Don Juan utilized its disruptive power to destabilize the student's cognitive baseline. By the start of the second book, Don Juan ceases the administration of psychotropic substances entirely. The substances functioned as a pharmacological wedge, used specifically to fracture Western cognitive biases. With those intellectual defenses broken, the framework for perception engineering moves forward without chemical intervention. The system identifies the baseline human condition as looking. The brain uses looking to project a grid of social agreements and linguistic paradigms onto the external world. This projected grid filters the chaos of the universe into a safe, predictable reality. The state of seeing involves the deliberate deactivation of these internal linguistic syntax and cultural filters. Bypassing the brain's categorization engine allows for the direct perception of the universe's energy dynamics. Human reality functions as a linguistic simulation. Learning to see is the act of perceiving the energy that exists outside of that simulation. When the state of seeing is successfully engaged, the practitioner perceives the energy body rather than the physical form. The text describes this as a luminous egg, a dynamic ovoid composed of flowing light fibers. In this state, all physical markers of human identity, including age, race, and gender, become irrelevant and invisible. This shift in perception causes a complete collapse of social hierarchy and personal history. Seeing reveals an energetic equivalence between all human beings, which erodes the foundations of human self-importance. Achieving this state of unmediated perception introduces a significant psychological danger. When all actions are perceived as energetically equal, the logical conclusion is that no action carries absolute meaning. This graph maps psychological motivation. Internalizing the absolute equivalence of all things can trigger a catastrophic downward crash into nihilism. Perception without structure leads to total paralysis. This existential crisis represents the primary failure point of the training. Sustaining this level of perception requires a psychological safeguard to prevent the practitioner from withdrawing from reality entirely. The system installs controlled folly as the engineered behavioral response to an indifferent universe. Controlled folly involves selecting an action and executing it with absolute mechanical precision, a state termed impeccability. The practitioner must maintain a paradox, acting as if the outcome matters, while maintaining total internal detachment from that outcome. Controlled folly demands total, exhausting engagement with the chosen task, separating the behavior from the practitioner's lack of absolute belief in it. This behavioral software serves as armor, allowing a human to operate efficiently within a universe that offers no inherent meaning. To maintain these behaviors, the practitioner relies on will. Western definitions of will often focus on psychological determination or mental desire. In this system, will is a tangible physical force. It bridges the gap between perception and action. When the logical intellect is suspended, the practitioner projects this force from the umbilical region as a tool for interaction with the world. Will becomes the primary engine for operation, making the disciplined actions of controlled folly physically possible. A Separate Reality documents the calibration of human hardware, the upgrading of perception, and the installation of behavioral safeguards. With these new systems fully online, the practitioner moves into the sober, daily praxis detailed in Journey to Extlan. This next phase explores specific technologies for erasing personal history and utilizing the proximity of death as an advisor. Understanding these mechanics requires first deactivating the perceptual grids that define your current reality.